I know one thing that you pointed out in the blogs too was that there's a ratio that's taking into effect when you look at these bandwidth usages. So upstream versus downstream. And anybody that's gone out and purchased broadband at home understands you have an upstream and a downstream speed. And before 2020, they probably didn't know what that was or care. But now we're in that world. So when you take this data and put it together, how are the MSOs and is you and your team using this data to kind of future-proof and plan?
So very interesting. Matt Tooley of the NCTA has been working in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill with a lot of legislation. So he actually reached out to us to get more details on our study. And some of the politics that's going on is people have realized that there's a digital divide. Having internet is kind of like a utility. So people who don't have it are really at a disadvantage. So there's a lot of government money getting put in to try to close that gap and put in new networks. And so then the question becomes, okay, what kind of network do you put into place? And what's happened is there's been some political factions who've said, oh, we should be doing 1 gigabit per second symmetric upstream and downstream as our new networks going forward. And the reality is, if you look at the usage, even though the upstream jumped 60%, before the pandemic, the downstream was maybe 15 times higher than the upstream. But then after that 60% jump, the downstream is now 12 times higher instead of 15. So it corrected it, but to put things in perspective, the downstream consumption is still what really dominates the total bandwidth. So having a 1 gig symmetric with a 1 gig upstream, it's kind of like saying everybody should have a Ferrari. That's probably overkill. Yes, I would love a Ferrari or Maserati, whatever your choice of car, but in reality, maybe a 1 gig downstream to 100 meg upstream is going to be more than enough for 99.9% of the people. So,
I mean, if you want to go stand in line for the free Ferrari, I'll go with you. I'm not gonna say no to that.
and if it's a green field and there's nothing there and you're building it out, then pull a fiber to the home and be done with it. And that fiber to the home is the best thing. But as you mentioned earlier, pulling fiber takes time. So you got to get the permitting. It's not anything you can do instantaneously. It's going to be many, many months or several years to build out a network. So the question is, we have an immediate need. What do we do in the short term?